Right from the top here, I want to make it very clear that I am not a person who relishes the idea of apologizing for opinion, which I'm not doing here. But I also don't relish the fact of having to explain to anybody who may be watching or listening that this is just a humble opinion and in no way intended to get a rise out of anybody or cause any controversy. I'm just calling it like I see it. So if you disagree with anything that I say in this video, message me, ask me, and do it politely and nicely, and I'll answer politely and nicely. If you're watching this video waiting for someone to shit all over the Wheel of Time television series, you're in the wrong place. But at the same time, if you're looking for an apologist for the show, you're not going to get that either. So stick with me for a few minutes, see what I have to say, and then tell me what you think. Remember, this is the Balefire Podcast, the podcast that's not always a podcast. But it's the only podcast that knows that the wheel weaves as the wheel wills and teaches us to weave within it. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you enjoyed this critique on the Wheel of Time. I wrote this one out ahead of time, as I will with a few. Most of the time, it's just going to be off-the-cuff conversations. But when I do reviews like this, I like to write them down. I do this so I can get my words proper and concise, and I don't swallow my tongue or put my foot in my mouth or anything like that. I want my thoughts to be clear, concise, and put out in a way that makes sense. So you'll forgive me if I'm not looking into the camera the entire time I'm reading here. As a lifelong fan of Robert Jordan's epic series, I've spent more than 2 decades immersed in these books. I went into the show with high hopes, some apprehension, and a lot of curiosity. Today, I want to share with you what I loved, what I struggled with, and how this adaptation is both a tribute and a tragic departure from the source material. My goal here is to be honest, open-minded, and respectful in this critique, because in the end, I'm still looking forward to what's to come. Let's start with one of the first things that stood out to me, which was the casting, particularly in the Two Rivers. Now, it's no secret that this isolated community had a very distinct history in the books. For thousands of years, the Two Rivers had been portrayed as a small, insular society, cut off from the world since the Trolloc Wars. According to thegreatblight.com, which is an excellent resource for anyone who wishes to delve into the nuance of the Wheel of Time world, the history of the Two Rivers goes something like this. Quote, over close to 1,800 years from the fall of Manetheren, the people of the Two Rivers became mostly independent. Although they were technically a part of the nations of Farashal after the Trolloc Wars and later a part of Andor, the people of the Two Rivers are mostly unaware that they are a part of Andor at the start of the story. End quote. So, from a purely narrative perspective, this would suggest that the people of the Two Rivers might share a more uniform appearance after generations of living in such a tight-knit, homogeneous society. But in the show, the Two Rivers is presented as a diverse, multi-ethnic society. And this was a bit jarring for me. Not because I have an issue with diversity in entertainment. On the contrary, I think diversity in film and television is refreshing, long overdue, and important. And I'm in no way opposed to this. My concern was more about the consistency with the world building established in the source material. However, as I watched, I remembered something important. That the strength of an actor's performance, their ability to embody the spirit and essence of a character, ultimately matters far more than a strict adherence to physical descriptions. Many of the actors in the show have completely won me over despite my initial reservations. Their performances remind me that the Wheel of Time is as much about the themes of unity, resilience, and growth as it is about the specifics of the source material. Another major topic among fans is the show's decision to center Moiraine as the focal point early on rather than Rand. In the books, Rand is clearly the protagonist right from the beginning, but the show chose to take a different approach, positing Moiraine, a character much like Gandalf in The Lord of the Rings, as the guiding force. For newcomers to the story, this approach works. By making Moiraine the anchor of Season 1, the showrunners have created a strong hook, a clear narrative thread that balances mystery with accessibility. While it's a significant departure from the source material, I understand the reasoning behind it, even if it took me a little time to adjust. This is something that they absolutely had to do. You tell everyone that Rand's the Dragon Reborn at the beginning of Episode 1, it takes so much wind out of the sails, so I get this one. Here's one that I still struggle with and I still don't get, and it bothers me to hell. Matt Cawthon. So Matt's always been one of my favorite characters in the books, my favorite actually. He's mischievous, he's a prankster, he's often up to no good, But he's also deeply loyal, and he has a heart of gold. In the show, Matt is portrayed very differently. He's a degenerate gambler, a thief, weighed down by the burden of caring for his younger sisters because his parents are portrayed as neglectful and dysfunctional. This one was indeed a tough pill to swallow. In the book, Matt's parents are respected members of the community. His father, a successful horse trader, his mother, a valued voice in the women's circle. Changing this dynamic raises questions about how Matt's arc will develop and what the showrunner's long-term vision for the character might be. Personally, I hope that these changes serve a greater purpose in the story going forward, but I admit that this is one of the adaptations that I still struggle with today. Bran Elvire is another one. Egwene's father. In the books, he's, a bit of a pushover to his wife, I'll admit, but he's still part of he's the mayor of he's the mayor of Emmons Field, and in the show they made him look like an absolute he looked like he was an absolute servitude to his wife, and he didn't have a lot of screen time, but he seemed incredibly weak. That one really bothered me as well. So all that being said, there were a few things that won me over. Some members of the cast have delivered some truly incredible performances. For example, Nynaeve. Totally different appearance-wise than from the books. But, you remember Nynaeve, everyone who's read it, her fierce loyalty, her unshakable will, the fiery spirit. The way that this is brought to life by Zoe Robbins is incredible. I couldn't imagine anyone else playing Nynaeve now. She's absolutely perfect in every way. Perrin. Perrin's quiet strength and internal conflict are captured with remarkable depth in Marcus Rutherford's portrayal. He feels like the Perrin that I've always envisioned. And again, fabulous job. Totally different than as described in the books, but he's made the character his own, and I love him as Perrin. He's perfect. Rand, now here's a character that they actually picked to look the part. I mean, in season 1 especially, he looks like Rand. He looks exactly like Rand should look. But there was one scene in season 1 where as soon as it happened, wow, bang, that's Rand.
Horse is arrested.
No!
At that point, I knew they had their man. This is our guy. So all in all, these performances embody the heart of the story and show that even with the changes to the source material, the essence of these characters can shine through. Well, so where does that leave me? Overall, I am genuinely enjoying the adaptation of The Wheel of Time. I wasn't expecting it to be a page-for-page carbon copy. What's the point of watching it if it's going to be that? I've heard a lot of people online saying, I think rightfully so, if you don't like it, just consider it another turning of the wheel. And I've seen a lot of people throw crap all over this. Don't tell me it's just another turning of the wheel. You're ruining the story. It's stupid. No, you're stupid. It is another turning of the wheel. Literally. It's a different medium. They have to put it somewhere else. So it is a different turning of the wheel, and it says that in the source material, that the wheel turns over and over and repeats itself. So get out of here. So some choices that still kind of bug me are Matt. I've completely gotten over the diverse casting of the Two Rivers. I've just accepted it for what it is because the performances of these actors playing these characters are just so perfect. I've also found myself captivated by the show's effort to capture the spirit of Jordan's work. Adaptations are tricky. They're a balancing act between honoring the source material and making it accessible to new audiences. While I may not agree with every decision, I am thrilled to see this story brought to life on an epic scale. And I'm looking forward to Season 3 with growing excitement. For longtime fans like me, it's a chance to revisit the world I love. For newcomers, it's a gateway into one of the richest fantasy worlds ever created. Here's hoping that the Wheel of Time continues to turn, bringing us more adventures, deeper character arcs, and a little bit of the magic that made us fall in love with this story in the first place. I'm going to put out a few more videos on the Wheel of Time shortly. Pretty much some character deep dives. Anyway, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It'll help me build the channel. And share your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please be respectful when you do, though. I'd love to hear from you. Until the next time, may you always find water and shade.